Welcome back, friends. Some of you are probably going to look at the title of this podcast episode and go, okay, DA, we've always known that you're a little special, but have you finally gone crazy? What do you mean by you can't do better? Well, one of the first personal development books I ever read was The Ultimate Secrets of Total Self-Confidence by Robert Anthony. And it is a good read, and he addresses a couple of issues, two in particular, that I recall at this moment. And one is this idea that you can't do better, which I'm going to explain in a second. And the other is about neuroticism. So after reading this book, you probably won't look at your family and friends the same way because you'll realize how neurotic they are. A lot of people don't know the definition of that word, so they'll go, what do you mean I'm neurotic? When you're not actually referring to like any mental illness or anything, you're just referring to how they behave. And usually that has to do with how they guilt you into things. So even if it's just a subtle form of manipulation, it's something that Robert Anthony would describe as being neurotic. That's probably another discussion for another time, but one of the cool concepts that Anthony describes in his book is this idea that you are already operating at capacity. You are in this moment doing the very best that you can do. Let's think back to grade school for a moment. Your teacher would give you a quiz ever so often, which was for the purpose of testing your skills and your understanding of the concepts that were covered in class. And so the teacher would kind of announce it a week in advance or whatever, and you'd spend the week studying, but more often than not, it was just the night before that you had studied. So you take the test and you hand it in and you get it graded and you get it back the following day or maybe the following week, and you got whatever grade you got. And maybe you didn't get the best grade on the quiz, and so people around you maybe would say things like do better next time or try harder next time, or maybe even the teacher wrote that as a note for you on your quiz. But let's say, for example, that you were given the same test 2 weeks later, and you prepared and studied for it exactly the same way you did the first time, and you took the test again without any changes to your studying habits. What would be the result? Well, probably within a small margin of error, you would probably get close to the same grade you got the first time. And it's even possible that the answers that you got right the first time you got wrong the second time because you just overthought it. And that's kind of a crude example, but so often in life, this is exactly what we do. We take the brain that got us into the mess in the first place and then try to apply it to the same problems, the same situations, and the various things that we encounter in this journey. We tend to do this in a variety of different areas of life, whether that's relationships or business or any other area where we strive to achieve and accomplish and make our mark. You've probably observed how some people will go from relationship to relationship and they will keep on kind of perpetuating that endless cycle. And really, you have to stop and think about what's the common denominator in that situation. Or maybe you start your own business and then 3 months down the line, you get bored of it, you get tired of it, so you start another one that seems more exciting and more interesting. And then another 4 months down the line, you're bored of that one, so you decide to start yet another business that seems more exciting and more interesting to you. I think you're probably beginning to see where I'm going with this. And I think Anthony's point is really that we are currently acting on the best information that is available to us, and that might be filtered through our own personal biases or perspectives. But nevertheless, the idea that you can do better than you're doing right now is sort of absurd unless your consciousness expands. You personally have to grow for things to change, because if you want to change things, you have to change things. I think this perspective is valuable because it doesn't really allow any room for doubt. When you begin to acknowledge that you are doing the best you can with the information that's available to you right now, and wherever you are with your personal growth, really, you're never down on yourself, and there's no reason to be down on yourself. You can continue to grow and to improve and expand your awareness of your surroundings and the world that you live in. So if you enjoyed this podcast episode, there's plenty more for you to explore over at the newly redesigned and reworked dawcast.com. That's DAWCAST.com. If everything isn't working quite right, it's because I'm still in the process of migrating all the content over, but I think there's only so much more that I need to do, so it's been coming along fairly smoothly, although it has been taking considerable effort and time. Don't forget to leave a comment in the show notes, check out some of the blog posts, and also go to the resources page for additional tips.